back to the book. Okay, you guys. So the last chapter was chapter 38, and it was called In Which Aunt Kate Takes the Lead and I Try to Hurry and Catch Up. Okay, so this is when Abraham Lincoln himself got on the train with them, and basically they're hired to protect him and to get him to Washington, D.C. safely. He was up in Philadelphia. Do you remember he took like a night train as opposed to the train he was supposed to be on? Just to make sure he's safe from the secessionists and the people that don't want him to be there. All right, chapter 39, In Which Aunt Kate Leaves Me. Once we had made it through the narrow tunnel at Camden Street Station, we had to wait for maintenance work to be completed on the train bound for Washington. This was when Aunt Kate stepped off. But I could not let her go just like that. I knew she had to leave to find out more about the assassin's plans, but without me? Quickly, I leaped off the rear platform after her. She needed me by her side. What danger was awaiting her in Baltimore? I did not want to imagine what would happen if her true identity were discovered by these bloodthirsty conspirators. Why won't you take me with you? I complained, my words coming out in breathy puffs in the cold night. I have enough sense to be a help to you, Aunt Kate. Why are you always trying to be rid of me? She was doing her fast walking again, approaching a small red brick ticket window to inquire about a carriage to the hotel. But she stopped abruptly and turned to face me. Let me make something clear to you, Nell Warren. I have eyes that work perfectly well, and I can see that you're not a child anymore. You have been a tremendous help to me since we first came to inherit each other. But I cannot think only of myself and my well-being. I have to think about what's best for you, whether it is Chicago's home for the friendless, or now leaving you in the capable hands of Mr. Pinkerton and the others. I don't do it to be rid of you, as you say. I do it because I care for you. And after a moment's pause, she added, no matter what your age, I will always want you safe from harm. I will want you happy, and I will want you to keep the company of good people. This is what it means to love someone now. I'd never heard my aunt use the word love. Not only did it sound foreign to my ears, it also gave my senses a bit of a shock. That's because it was the last sentiment in the world I was thinking of. Anger, rejection, abandonment, loneliness. I was familiar with all of those, but love? I did not know how to act. My cheeks flared hot with embarrassment, but I hoped the depot's darkness would keep that information from Aunt Kate's detection. The steam engine let out a puffy hiss on its track, reminding us of what lay ahead. I looked into Aunt Kate's face, and there was no trace of the pickled onion there. Her expression was gentle and full of caring. She reached over and gave my hand a quick squeeze. Then she turned and walked away. No more fussing. As I watched her dark figure disappear into the depot, I opened my mouth to call after her again, but my heart was so high up in my throat it was hard to speak. Thoughts were snowflakes swirling in my mind. In this book, we talk a lot about similes. There's a lot of similes, but this is actually a great example of a metaphor, okay? Thoughts were snowflakes swirling in my mind. It's comparing her thoughts to snowflakes, but it's not using the words like or as, okay? So it's just saying thoughts are snowflakes, and they're swirling in her mind. Great. I couldn't catch one and hold on. I wanted so badly to tell her things. That I loved her, that I worried about her, and most of all, that I wanted to go with her. But the moment was interrupted by something shrill and peculiar piercing that night. Whistling. The flesh on my neck and arms went pimply like I'd just climbed out of a cold bath. See, back to similes, like she'd just climbed out of a cold bath. It was coming from the far end of the wooden walkway beside the train. Beyond the few gas lights, the night was as black as mud, and I could see no figure. Oh my gosh, as black as mud. And I could see no figure there. But the sharp melody sliced the cold air around me like a knife. I recognized the Southern tune right away as Dixie, and the lyrics rushed into my head. I wish I was in the land of cotton. Immediately, I sprang from the ticket area. There was no stopping me as I crossed the wide brick station in seconds. Not another soul was in sight. No conductors, none of the operatives, not even a single passenger. There was just the ghostly melody and me. Without even thinking, I stepped onto the long wooden walkway and slowly strode toward the whistling. My boots echoed in the darkness with every step. The whistling grew loud as I approached its source. Old times there are not forgotten. That's part of the song. but my boots were louder, and they seemed to beat down the Dixie tune with every step. Clip, clomp, clip, clomp. Then I saw him. More than 40 paces ahead. In the small circle of light from the lamppost, a dark figure was standing. He began moving slowly along the walkway, straining to see into the windows of our rail car. Oh my gosh. Was this the moment we'd been building towards, when the assassin's dagger would plunge into Mr. Lincoln's honorable heart? I thought again of the rough talk we had heard from the rebel thugs. He won't leave Baltimore alive. The abolitionist traitor will never take the oath of office. I would not stop myself, could not stop myself. My mind was too focused, as if propelled by some force beyond even my own power. My boots kept marching down that walkway, louder and stronger and sturdier than I'd ever walked before. Clip, clomp, clip, clomp. Pressing close to the train, I made sure the stranger couldn't see me as I stayed just outside each circle of lamplight. I strode faster now, pounding the wooden planks like a drumbeat. Clip, clop, clip, clop. His whistling stopped, and the stranger frantically looked all around him into the darkness. With one last glance at our sleeping car, he turned on his heel and ran. I stopped cold and listened, my heart thudding in my chest, beating out of its own rhythm of quiet strength. Like a rat disappearing into a hole, he was gone, swallowed by the black night. And the only sound I could hear was his retreating footsteps in the darkness. They faded to a trickle, and then they were gone. "Hark! Who's there?" came a shout, which I knew right away was Mr. Pinkerton. The steam engine gave another hiss, and the wheels began to roll. "It's me, Nell Warren," I called, and immediately I saw his hand reach out to me from the rear platform. I grabbed it and leaped, landing squarely on the moving train as it rolled down the tracks bound for Washington and left the menacing city of Baltimore behind. "Jumpin', Jehoshaphat Nell!" boomed Mr. Pinkerton as we picked up speed. "Those boots of yours might have saved the day." And then, as if he reconsidered his thought, he nodded towards the sleeping berth behind us, and quite possibly more than that. Mrs. Warren would be very pleased. So, somebody was lurking and trying to look inside the rail car where Mr. Lincoln was. Okay, did you guys catch all that? I'm pretty sure you did. And Nell, what's interesting is what gave it away was the whistling of a Southern song. Remember, Southern states are the ones that wanted to keep the slaves and everything, and that tune is what turned her on to go after it and to go take a look. Kind of crazy. Oh my gosh. So she definitely saved the day. And more than that, she might have saved Mr. Lincoln himself. That's the end of the chapter. Aunt Kate is now in Baltimore. She's on the train. It's probably about another hour train ride or something to get to Washington, D.C. with Mr. Lincoln. More later.